welcome to a Cuppa with So Timeless with me, Rowena. Lovely to see you again, and welcome to those of you who are new. If you haven't yet, go and grab a cuppa and come and join me for the first in this little series. I'm not sure exactly how many parts it will have, but I don't want to make it too long. Maybe 3 or at the most 4 parts. We'll see how it goes. But getting to the point, this little series about reviewing a pattern, and the pattern in question is the Butterick pattern 6055, which is a vintage retro 1950s dress, and I absolutely love this dress pattern and I've been dying to make it. And if you watched my previous video, you'll know that I decided I would do a pattern review as I go along making it. So first off, to get started, I've been having a little look at the instructions, at what's needed, and thinking about what fabric I want to use for my first go at this pattern. I did mention before, but in case you didn't see that video, I do like to, the first time I make a pattern, make it pretty much as it comes, and then from there I can make decisions about things I want to change, adapt, do differently in the future, to make variations of the original pattern. And so the one that I'm going to be doing the review on is the very first time I'm making this pattern, and so it'll be the pattern as is. If this little series goes well, then I'll do further series on other patterns as well. And so please do let me know if you enjoy it and if you would like me to do any further. And if there's any particular pattern that you'd like to see reviewed, let me know and I'll see what I can do. I may well have it in my stack of patterns, which seems to be growing on a weekly basis. Not that I ever get time to actually get around to making all of them, but it's growing. And so getting back to this pattern, it is a 1950s inspired style. And the main features I really like is I do like the way they've done the collar and the fitted top part of the dress, and I love these pockets, which you would have heard me say in at least 2 previous videos. I absolutely love these pockets, and I like the little detail with the little bows. And it's got a self belt, which I will attempt to make. I'm not brilliant at belts, but I've got my new little gadget I want to try out, so we'll see how that goes. Another thing, I have been very truthful in a previous video and admitted I am not very good at sticking down true to pattern instructions usually. I can do it if it's needed, but I have been sewing for such a long time, I tend to start getting excited about what I'm making and go off and do my own thing. But I will try as far as possible to stick to the instructions in here, because what I'd like to do is review the instructions as well. How good are they? Do they tell you exactly what to do? If you've never sewn before, is it a pattern that's even worth giving it a go? That kind of thing. How much extra information are you going to need before starting on this pattern? I had a little look, and the types of fabrics that they suggest are suitable, I was quite surprised at. They've recommended linen, taffeta, something called peak, which I'm not 100% sure about, and brocade. Now, linen and brocade are fairly stiff, thick fabrics, and I'm not really sure that that's the best fabric for this kind of dress, but maybe a nice soft linen that falls nicely might work well. Brocades tend to be quite thick and stiff though, so I'm not really convinced they would be perfect for this. But you know, there's so many new fabrics out there these days and so many variations on fabrics out there that perhaps I'm not quite up to date with everything that is available out there. In fact, one of the things I'm looking at getting is one of the fabric shops I use do a really good file of fabric samples, what the fabric is, giving you a sample of the actual fabric so you know what it feels like as well. And I'm really looking at getting that because I think it would be invaluable if you do a lot of sewing. But getting back to this pattern, the other things that are needed, it has the pockets, of course, with the ties which are made. It has the collar. They say that you can put shoulder pads in, but that's optional. I'll see, I'm not planning to put the shoulder pads in at this stage, but I might change that. It has a side zipper, which is quite a common thing in the 1950s style dresses. The zippers tended to be, the front is closed, and then the zipper is in the side to allow the dress to open up so that you can get into it. I did the previous dress with the blue check pattern, and that was the same. The zipper was down the side part. So we'll stick with that for the moment. And then of course the self belt. And so we needed the zipper, which I've got loads of zippers in the cupboard, so that shouldn't be a problem. Need a 1-inch buckle without prong, and I have been sourcing some buckles. I wanted to buy a pack of multiple sizes and multiple buckles so that I can use them again in the future. So I'll be ordering that in the next day or two, so it'll be coming before I start sewing the dress. If you're going to use shoulder pads, you need raglan, and they recommend covered shoulder pads. And an optional extra is seam binding. I've never used seam binding in my sewing. I do my own finishing off and my own hemming in all things I sew. So that I won't be needing that, but it's something you might need if you're looking into getting it. And then the other thing I was trying to decide is which size to make. I tend to, with the first time I make garments, do a size 12 or 14, only because I do have Dolly behind me for fitting. But if I wanted to fit it on a real person for whatever reason, if there was anything, I try and do it in a size that either my daughter or I can fit into in case I need to do any fitting on a live person, because sometimes Dolly's very stiff, she doesn't move, she doesn't have arms, she doesn't have legs, and so sometimes you need a person who is more malleable, with skin and flesh that moves, and sometimes it's just to see things like armholes and things, if they're going to work properly. So yeah, so I do tend to, for the first time I try patterns, do a size of somebody that can actually fit it if I need it. So that's the only reason. I'm kind of leaning towards doing a size 14, but in saying that as well, something to bear in mind with patterns is that patterns, the size on the pattern that says a size 14, it might not actually come out a size 14 if I choose size 14. So I will choose to do size 14, and I will let you know at the end when we put it on Dolly, when it's done to completion, if it is actually a true size 14, as we know a size 14 that we buy in the shops, or according to body measurements a size 14, or if it actually comes out as a different size. So that's something else I'll be reviewing, is the actual sizing of the pattern, and let you know about that. And as far as fabrics were concerned, I had a look through my fabric stash, and the fabric I had in mind, which was a plain blue fabric, I don't actually have enough fabric to do this dress, which I was really sad about, because I'd already kind of pictured it done in that fabric. But I found two alternatives. One is this gorgeous wide striped kind of turquoisey colour, white and turquoise striped fabric, which I think, the more I think about it and look against the pattern, the more I think it would do the pattern really well. And I have the option then of doing the pockets either following the stripe the same way or doing them the opposite way. It's an option. I'm not sure if it would work, and I'm just kind of trying to hold it I'll show you what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to hold the fabric so that it's showing the stripe the other way on top of the stripe one way, and that might actually work. I think I will do the stripes going downwards for the dress, and then possibly do the pockets maybe either diagonally or sideways. I'll play around with that when I'm cutting out. The other option is this gorgeous pale blue gingham fabric, which is it's not a tiny gingham, it's a nice sized gingham for a dress. So I was trying to decide which of those two. I liked both as potential fabrics for this pattern. I am leaning more towards the striped turquoise coloured fabric. And I am, because I did actually buy this fabric with something else in mind, to be honest, as well. But also I just think it probably would work better. I think this dress would work better with a brighter or darker fabric rather than a pastel colour. It may work in pastel. I'm not 100% sure it's the best option. So for now, I'm going to go with that fabric for that pattern, and I think that's going to work well. I'll have a decision made about the pockets when I'm cutting out and play around with it a bit. But I'll stick with that for the moment. I'll put the other fabric away. I've also got my new toys that I'm going to try out on when I'm making this, but that's way down the line. I still have to cut out the correct size pattern pieces, cut out the fabric, and I'll let you know how all the cutting out side of things going, the marking, pattern markings, that kind of thing, in the next video of the series. I'll talk about the cutting out and pattern markings, etc. And then we'll go from there, and then it'll be putting it all together. So it's going to be over a few weeks. It's not something that's going to happen instantly. These dresses are not that quick to make. They take time, and so you may see me a few times yet on different days working on this dress. But for now, that's everything about the initial stages of checking the pattern, finding the bits and pieces, choosing the fabric, and I will leave you there for today. And I hope to see you soon. Have a lovely day, rest of the day. I'm not sure what time you're watching this, but enjoy the rest of what you've got left of today, and I will be back soon. Bye bye.